So, we're living in what I see as this very open world where we've got a challenge of different sorts of ways we can experiment with people, different ways we can ask people what they're up to. But there's so many users of resources that we're interested in, our students as well as those, but actually it's how does our technology now leak out to the world? The open educational resource world is what brought this home for me, where we provide resources and we've got really very little connection then through with the many users. But I think this is happening for all of us, that we're finding it hard to stick with methods that perhaps have made sense when you had to talk to people, you had to see people. The general way in which people interacted was much more local, into one where there are so many more options for what we can do. So there's this very connected world out there. And for us to act, to continue to act in a way where we feel sort of isolated from it, is missing out on the opportunity. And so I feel that this sort of very open world, this world that we want to study, and it's also a world of people. So we've got people connecting out there. Yeah?
We're getting some messages about the volume. Is it possible to switch the volume up with those little sliders that might help our distant audience?
Is this from Martin?
From Martin Cooper this time.
Okay.
It's little sliders down underneath that video pane.
Oh, I see.
Did you see?
Oh, yes.
So maybe that might help.
Does that help?
Okay, we'll see.
I think if I could work out where the microphone was that I'm talking to, it might help. So we'll do some more fiddling with technology, but the idea of today was to say, how can we reach people? How can we change the way we work so that we network with new sorts of people and share ideas as researchers in a much more connected way. Some people might well feel that they're artificially connected, but I always find that when I think about the ways in which to work these days, there's so many options for how to do this. This is very much, I think, a two-way issue, because we need to be getting input from people beyond ourselves. We need to find a way to switch on the ability to draw in the willingness of other people to cooperate. Gronya has an example recently where she opened up in a workshop onto the Twitter stream to say, please give me your ideas, and found ideas flowed in. And it's those sort of casual connections that we might do day to day, and more organised connections that we might need to do in setting up research projects. So, I also feel that we've got new ways to get data in. The videos that we're shooting at the moment, the audios that we capture. This can all seem very good at the time. But I realised that at a previous workshop, I went around asking people various questions. I got some nice little clips, and then I've done nothing with them until yesterday. I felt guilty about it. So, as of yesterday, Doug is on YouTube telling us what he thinks about the biodiversity observatory.
That's great.
He's dangerous with these cameras.
But how do we organise ourselves so we can make that part of our routine? So there's a sort of technology question. And then, who does the research? Do we go around sort of collecting the data, or do we distribute technology so that we can do this? If you've got a little camera with you, I hope you do use it during the day and capture things together. Okay, now, I wanted to sort of then lead through into the talks we're going to do in about 5 or 10 minutes, but beforehand, I want to sort of try and get input from you, either through commenting into Twitter stream, commenting into your typing into Olnet, any way you feel like contributing. But what it is, I mean, am I matching onto something that other people feel? What is Researcher 2.0? And the other question that we're wanting to sort of get a hold of from today is right screen. Has the screen right?
No, they're all right, but you've lost that one as well.
Oh, right. Well, the other thing about technology is how much you can rely on it these days.
We no longer can.
Well, I've got a screen in front of me which all it says is, what are the big questions? I think I can just improvise. So, I'd like to get from anybody in this room, sort of kick off on this. So what is Researcher 2.0? What should we be trying to upgrade ourselves to be?
Can I just ask a question to allow a little bit of clarity on it? Why Researcher 2.0?
Okay.
It feels like a Microsoft product, and I sure want to be a Microsoft product.
Okay.
I think it's snappy. I think it's snappy and it has this notion of a newer, better version.
So if you want to
Microsoft
see what's
maybe,
happening.
those adjectives are not applicable, but it's the notion that you're still doing the activity of research, but doing it in a new, improved way, using better tools. That's my
It
definition.
couldn't connect to me to Microsoft at all because of Web 2. So I was thinking of it connecting to Web 2, so it's research to using Web 2 technologies. But I'm probably
Just created a little product.
I think to be honest, the term Web 2.0 when it first came out, I thought was terrible. I really hated it, sort of second only to e-learning. And then actually there's been some sort of quite good writing about this sort of concept and sort of how things have changed for the way people in general work. So it's really latching on to that, and like everybody else, putting E in front of anything was supposed to make it cool at one stage, and putting I in front of anything that became the way to do it once Apple took over. Putting 2.0 afterwards is just sort of trying to find some way to sort of latch on to the current shorthand. I don't think it is necessarily something to stick with, but I agree with Alan that actually it makes you think of not Microsoft, I think, because it's all the other things that have come in sort of in a smaller way. But I think it's a really good point, because the other thing I'd say is sort of, do we want to be the sort of solid point that we don't necessarily, that we, research should be about finding good, solid evidence and not going with the trends. I suppose the other side of it, the one that didn't come on the screen, was just now, what are the big questions? That is sort of part of it. Are there questions that we're now trying to find the answer to that needs us to behave in a different way? And are there problems that you're tackling that you feel if only you could get much more mass input, then it would be much easier to tackle these things?